Black Adam powers to $67 million opening. Biggest opening as a leading man for Dwayne The Rock Johnson. This is a Sunday AM update from Deadline. I will always call him Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I will never call him Dwayne Johnson. He's always
Dwayne Johnson just sounds like a random guy you meet on the street.
Thank you. So the movie made $67 million at the U.S. box office. Remember, the original prediction was for $70 million, and then they lowered it to $60 when the critics gave bad reviews, as if critics still mattered. That they think that's a thing still, believe it or not. It made $140 million worldwide. And a big thing to note for that is that for the US, it had a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday box office. For most of Europe, it was just Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they did not have Thursday showings contributing to that amount. It was about a $200 million movie to make. So it's still got a long way to go if it's going to become profitable. But I think what we're learning here is kind of, it's at 39% on critics, rotten from critics, and 90% from audiences, which is around the same as Joker.
However, we noted that the reviews from fans are going to be higher when it's the opening weekend because those are the people who are going to want to see it as soon as possible. I think that the fan reviews are going to get lower.
Opening day, Thursday night reviews, I buy that. Weekend reviews, I think you're getting a fairly good sample size for that opening weekend. It may drop, but I feel like the Thursday previews, you're absolutely going to get people who are just diehard fans, want to go. But the thing that people keep focusing on here is that they're saying that the movie's not woke, and that's why it did really well. I would contend that there's absolutely woke elements to this movie, but the thing that they have going for them is they didn't spend the last 2 or 3 months telling you you're a horrible person if you don't go and see this and talking about anything but the movie. They weren't talking about representation. They weren't talking about people needing to see this movie so that they can become more cultured. They just said this is a big budget superhero starring a very famous actor that everybody knows. Go and see it. You could make even points that The Rock paid lip service to fans and the importance of fans, but I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just the fact that they weren't being bombarded with B-level actors telling them they were bad people if they didn't go see this. My logic here is this. If you watch this movie, remember, we talked at the beginning where the mother's son, the son character, he immediately starts going on about oppression and colonialism and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But without the 3 months of people telling you you're an awful person if you don't go see this, that has a slightly more palatable taste in your mouth. It leaves a less awful taste in your mouth when you don't have to think about how the actors think you're a horrible person for saying that. That's my logic there.
But did we hear any of that in the press for, say, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness?
Oh, yeah.
Or the Batman?
At the very least...
Not from what I remember.
At the very least, the marketing there was talking about the importance of representation. Let's not just talk about whether... hold on there. Let's not talk about whether they're talking about whether the fans are red. They weren't marketing it as something more than what it was. They weren't telling you that you had to go see this because it was important because it had LGBTQ representation or it had minority representation. They were just telling you it was a movie you should go and see.
I think maybe something has happened to us. Like, we are going through these movies and the marketing for them with a fine-toothed comb, looking for so-called wokeness. I hate that term now because it kind of it puts a movie into this box, and if there's even one crumb of wokeness in the marketing for it, then it gets painted with the broad brush.
It's because
wokeness was certainly not a problem in Black Adam.
No, it wasn't.
There were woke elements in it, but there, like, we talked about it and we addressed those things specifically. Gosh, that character, what was his name?
Which one?
The Sarah Shahi's son.
I don't know the character's name.
Again, this movie had so many forgettable characters and plot points. But he was talking about, like, you've polluted our air and taken our resources and oppressed our people and blah, blah, blah. That was the first red flag.
Yeah.
But that doesn't sound as woke as it sounds as bad writing.
Sure. I mean, it's both, though, because like, what kind of writer's room it comes from.
Right.
Who is in that writer's room.
Well, no, that's the thing. We don't know what type of writer's room this comes from because we don't have a bunch of writers and directors and actors telling us we're awful people or telling us that those were important story elements here. We don't know that. But
it was slipped in there to be subversive. We know that was on purpose. We know it was on purpose that they race swapped Black Adam, which they can do because it was not a super relevant character beforehand. They race swapped Hawkman.
Yes.
Again,
Yeah.
like they can just kind of slip these things in and it's not noticed. But we've become very hyper aware of those things, and a mainstream viewer is not paying attention to that, and they're not paying attention even to the other side of it. They're not paying attention to The Rock posting on Twitter about how the fans come first and we're delivering for them.
I disagree. I don't know necessarily if it's that we are checking these movies with a fine, I don't know, the
Toothed
figure
comb.
of speech. Fine-tooth comb?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if it's necessarily that, or it's that progressivism and wokeness, when it's integrated into films, it's like a bucket of cold water splashed on your face that completely like breaks the immersion. For example, the most recent example that I can think of is during the Batman with the sparkly guy when he's the Batman.
Robert Pattinson.
The sparkly guy.
Yeah, so that movie is in woke.
There
at
was
all.
and there was marketing there, by the way. Zoe Kravitz did not do that movie any favors in the run up to that movie.
Well, that was her interviews. But the thing is, there was a scene where they're in a rooftop and she says rich white patriarchy or something like that. And it was so out of the blue. And I
Yeah,
was like,
something
"What?"
about powerful rich white men.
Yeah.
And then but again, I've said before, I think that was supposed to, maybe it failed to do this, but it was supposed to speak to the audience like, you know that Batman's character fits that description. He's a rich, powerful white man, yet he's not morally compromised on the whole.
The thing is, but it just slaps you in the face because normal people don't talk that way.
Yes.
Like when we're shooting the shit up here, like we don't talk that way. When you're talking with your friends on Discord or doing whatever, you don't talk that way. So that's why my argument is that it's not that we're super scanning for progressiveness. Well, sometimes maybe we are, and that's a fault that we have. But it's just that it slaps you in the face and it makes you be like, hey, what's going on here?
Well, in a way, movies kind of always have to make their characters talk in a way that we don't, right?
Well,
That's unavoidable.
it's a bit off
Really?
topic, but in that movie, it doesn't work because the rest of the dialogue in that movie is very evergreen, and that was very of current year, so it felt like it stood out more. I want to point out one more thing, which is that whenever movies are released now, whether we're talking movies and TV shows, whether we're talking Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, or any Marvel movie, whenever the companies do their promotion after it's released, they talk about the fantastic Rotten Tomato score, which, as we know, means nothing. Black Adam is going the other way. The Rock released this tweet that says, "This phenomenal 90% audience score from Black Adam is so gratifying for so many reasons. 15 years, thank you all so much for all of the love and support. In the end, the only thing that matters to me is sending the people home happy, and that is what I'll always fight for." Look,
He is
love that.
This
media
is not-
trained to the max.
I mean, I love that still.
this is not rocket science. He's doing it right. He's doing what you should be
Sure.
doing. Whether even if it's just on the outlook, maybe you went into this movie and it was like meh, like that. I mean, most of the people we went with, I loved it. Everyone else, it was meh. But the average person, what will leave them with a better impression? Going into the movie and hearing that afterwards, or going into the movie and finding out that critics loved it, but you're like meh, whatever. Focusing on the audience automatically kind of, perception is currency in this world, right? And if this movie is perceived by audiences as good, it's going to have lower drops week to week. So the hope is that good word of mouth, whether because the movie was actually good or because people are just glad that The Rock isn't calling them names, will contribute to this movie having lower drops from week to week. So the box office will hopefully hold steady and lead to more money, which will lead to more films.
I got a question, Brett. Is there a movie genre where you would take the critic score more importantly for you personally than the audience score?
That's an interesting question. Stuff with less social capital. Okay, if it's science fiction, I don't trust a thing the critics have to say. If it's anything that has franchise potential, I don't trust anything the critics have to say. We've been watching The Peripheral, I've been watching.
I've watched the premiere as well. Okay, I
and
gave it a fair
yes.
chance.
And I read a couple of the critic reviews of it, and I agreed with about half of them. I disagreed with about half of them. But for a show like that, which is not it's gorgeous. It's beautifully shot. It's the cinematography is fantastic.
You know more about that than I do. I didn't find it particularly.
I'm saying it looked expensive because of the location shooting. If there was a lot of location shooting there, or if that was CGI, either way, that's expensive.
What was that yellow filter they put over everything that was set in the future?
It's yellow and blue.
Hate it.
All the things are yellow and blue in Hollywood right now. But the point is that if the movie has less of a reason for them to get involved, I trust their opinions more. If it's a big budget blockbuster coming from one of these major studios, I don't really trust them to have honest opinions. One, because it may be part of a franchise that they work for a company that's a subsidiary of a company that's got a stake in that product. Or it's because, like, you'll notice that a lot of articles get written. Remember when, even on the other side of things, remember when Father Stu came out and there was, like, randomly really positive articles on, like, Cinema Blend about it, mixed with articles about how bad it was because it was religious? Those articles get written because they're not paid for it, but they're told to write an article about it. So if there's less of a reason for them to be antagonistic towards the fans, I have more of a likelihood that I'm actually going to trust what they have to say. But that's still, like, that's irrelevant. I don't trust them either way.
Would that be in like a rom-com, a horror movie?
Right.
Because less social capital the older the audience is, maybe?
Like the Terminal List, actually that's a horrible example because they pan the Terminal List, and the Terminal List was great.
So yours is more by theme, not by genre, is what you're saying. Like if it covers a certain amount of topics, then...
Yeah. If there's some type of social messaging that the show wants to push and the marketing reflects that, I'm not going to trust the ratings.
Okay. How about you? Is there like a genre where you would trust more the critic score? Because I remember before all the woke madness, particularly, I used to take critic scores in a way they would matter to me more than the audience score, but now it's completely the opposite.
It's the opposite.
I care about neither at this point, and here's me like,
neither.
Being the devil's advocate, I guess, again, because I understand completely why critics might give Black Adam negative reviews,
or why fans
would give them positive. Yeah. But both, I think, are prioritizing the wrong things. If critics think that Black Adam did not prioritize the right social messages or use its platform for good, then that's stupid, obviously. Yep. But if they're pointing out ways that the plot didn't follow, ways that it was shot in a disjointed way, ways that the score was overwhelmingly bad, or like that the dialogue was weak, or it was, cut the wrong way, whatever. All of that would be totally valid to point out. And then on the side of the audience, I mean, this is a false battleground anyway. It doesn't need to exist, but it's become this way, like a battleground of a culture war because of the critics. I admit that. But on the audience side, they might be giving it a positive review either because diehard fans are going to like it regardless of the quality, or like Brett said, they have a very low bare minimum standard that if you don't hate me, I will support you.
I will also point out that this movie is objectively has a ton of flaws. I understand that. I never said that the movie was a functionally perfect movie.
You said it's not a good movie, but it was fun to watch.
Yes.
And my problem with it is, like, I wasn't expecting it to be some kind of masterpiece or even that well thought out. If it were fun to watch aside from that, then that means it's good and it accomplished what it set out to do. But I didn't find it fun to watch. I found it extraordinarily boring. Yep. And like,
maybe it's just for the bros, dude.
Maybe it is just for the bros, and that's fine. That's fine. But like, and I do want to like it. I want to be, in the crowd that likes the thing that people like right now. I want to fit in, okay? But like, it was boring as hell.
My thing is that
I'm not going to pretend it wasn't.
If it's deeply flawed and yet it's entertaining to watch, I feel that its score should be like a 70.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's fun to watch, then you've got me like 90% of the way there, like, to liking it.
It really concerns me that after we've been beaten over the head so much that now our criteria is so low that we would give like a deeply flawed thing almost perfect score.
Well, if you want them to make things that don't annoy you, then you may have to accept some deeply flawed things in the time being to reinforce, like a dog, good behavior from the Hollywood people. Like, good boy, don't insult the fans and treat them like absolutely horrible human beings. Do your job and you'll earn the money that you're making. I also want to point out that I did find it funny that a lot of people really, really love Dr. Fate. They love Dr. Fate, and I just didn't feel like there was enough screen time there. Like, I love Pierce Brosnan, and Pierce Brosnan as an actor is levels above everyone else that was part of that cast, but that's literally existing on the backs of him and his talent, right? I didn't feel like the character was so well written that it got the positive attention that they're getting in The Rock, again, because he wants to push for the fans to get what they want, is saying that, don't worry, that he says, Dr. Fate is one of my favorites too, and you will see more of him, I promise. We wanted Black Adam to be visually stunning, so thank you for that nod. Everyone in the movie, he says, everyone? I don't know what that means.
Everyone in the movie?
Maybe. So yeah, they're already plotting out. I didn't misread that, guys. It's the movie, everyone.
Okay.
They're
Dr. Fate is coming back, even though, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, he was shown sacrificing his life to save his team.
That's so lame.
I don't even think that plot point made sense. I didn't think that it was even necessary for the plot for him to do that.
We argued our way around like that, saying that like he didn't have to hold them off to make that sacrifice or to call for Black Adam to come back.
So he's coming back in the future in another DC film, and it's like, once again, we're running into this problem in both Marvel and DC,
Black Widow.
There are no stakes to anything, and no character is gone for good. Their deaths don't mean anything, so why were you even invested in watching them fight villains if nothing can happen to them anyway? They are completely invincible, and you can't get emotionally invested in a character as quickly as they introduced him anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, Sabak didn't exactly come into like the end of the movie anyways.
People kind of liked Dr. Fate, I think, in a contrarian way, because they're like, even though Doctor Strange has been on screen longer, we still like Dr. Fate because he was the OG. And it's like, well, DC's playing catch up by adding him on screen anyway.
If there was any actor in that series that I would think had like if they were to give any of those actors their own movie, I would give it to Pierce Brosnan before I would give it to the rest of them. That's just me personally, but that's because he has a far bigger portfolio and has proven himself as a good actor for far longer. Granted, Aldous Hodge has been acting since like Leverage was in like 2007, so he was acting well before that, but Pierce Brosnan is a known commodity at the box office. Okay. I think of Aldous Hodge as more of a television. In fact, I thought of most of those other actors as television level actors. That was something that I thought was really interesting. Aldous Hodge, maybe it's changed and I'm just not hip with the times, but Sarah Shahi was a television star. Aldous Hodge was a television star. The other two members, Noah Centineo is a television star a streaming.
Yeah, streaming movies.
And the other one, I hadn't seen anything from the young lady in
Quintessa Swindell or Schwindel or something.
It's an awesome name. Quintessa's an awesome name.
I only know Brosnan from James Bond.
Well, yeah.
People are asking for a Dr. Fate TV series, actually, for streaming on HBO Max.
That could work. I mean, it would give you like, or if you're going to make a TV series, make a JSA TV series. I don't know. So it was very, very interesting to me. Thank you. That was loud. It was loud today. It was very, very interesting to me why I really do think that all these studios have to do is the bare minimum, dude. Just I was looking back at the marketing. And it's just The Rock, like this movie, man, this movie, trying to get it made for 15 years. This movie. Focus outward. Focus on what you're creating, not what other people are supposed to interpret your creation as, and the fans will reward you. And it's like, I'm trying to make your job easier, Hollywood. I'm literally trying to tell you how to do this with minimal effort because people have been beat down so badly. It's like battered wives syndrome. They'll just keep coming back for more, even though they know it's a bad idea. There's a way around this, and it's by, believe it or not, just not treating people like absolute crap.
Well, also by just doing the obvious smart business decision to reintroduce your flagship characters instead of introducing characters that maybe people have known about for longer than their Marvel analogs, but who have not gained an emotional investment in.
Yep.
A Dr. Fate movie wouldn't do well because of Doctor Strange, even though he's an older character than Doctor Strange.
But as a TV show, it might work.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But DC just needs to recognize that they are at a disadvantage because Marvel is way ahead of them as far as film adaptations
Plus,
go.
Marvel is screwing up their TV shows really bad, so maybe learn to dominate that space. But there's more money to be made in film.
Right. And they just need to get the leadership and infrastructure going.
I was trying to think.
They messed up Iron Fist and they messed up She-Hulk. What else?
They've She-Hulk was bad. Iron Fist is bad.
People are not having good expectations for the new Daredevil Reborn
Or
series.
at the very least, what it does is it waters down the product, right? There's just so much stuff coming out.
Yeah, there's too much.
And also, in order to keep up with the film releases, you have to watch the TV series that are on the side. Yep. That's ridiculous.
My thing is that there has to be an A-lister IP. There's not. Like She-Hulk.
Spider-Man is their A-list IP, but they don't own Spider-Man. Sony does. So.
Well, then what's the point? Because She-Hulk is F tier. No one cares. I get tired of people there's still people somewhere that actually care. No, they don't. Okay.
They made some very obvious mistakes with She-Hulk that could have been easily avoided. Social justice messaging aside, just visually, her character is repulsive looking. I'm sorry.
Having a lawyer.
Graphics are really bad.
Not having a lawyer help write lawyer scenes.
For me,
with so much talk about representation in writers' rooms, right?
Me, all that aside, I've heard of the Avengers and Spider-Man. Those are the A tier, point blank, period. And X-Men. I think X-Men are Marvel as well.
Yes, but
that's A tier as well. Everything
that's why
else,
they're bringing back Hugh Jackman in Deadpool.
I mean, you don't need a...
Yeah, but they're having a really hard time casting for the X-Men for future and Fantastic Four. We'll see where that goes. I just think right now that the best thing that they could do is to continue placating the fans as best they can.
Placating? It makes the fans sound like they're the problem, even still, as you're pandering to them. I don't think they need...
Let me rephrase that. Okay. What I mean is that they need to do the bare minimum to please the people that give them money. Placating is the wrong word. Fine. But
I like that you're waving money in the air as you're talking about it.
As we do.
It's this isn't rocket science. It's not rocket science. They could be doing this a whole lot better. By the way, there's a really funny meme about Iron Fist where they're talking about how basically everyone hated that show until they saw She-Hulk, and now they're maybe it wasn't so bad after all.
I bet.
If they just continue lowering your expectations over and over, then they won't have to perform as well.
Genius strategy. Right?
I just don't think that there's anything wrong with
that
there's anything wrong with the idea that you just don't have to, that all you have to do is not talk to your fans like they're horrible people and tell them that there's a reason to see it other than to just be entertained. There should be no reason to go see a movie beyond being entertained. Mm-hmm. I don't give a crap about what cause you're championing. I don't give a crap about representation. If you want to have it in the movie, great, but the movie better still be entertaining. I don't give a crap. And regular people don't give a crap. And that's not rocket science. The Rock put the focus on... Maybe it proves that you need a bigger star. Maybe that they market... Thank you.
Sorry.
Wow.
Maybe they market the Rings of Power and they market all of these other shows because they don't have star power in these shows. They don't want to use Tolkien because they don't like Tolkien, whether they want to admit that or not. They hate Tolkien.
Right.
So they don't have Viggo Mortensen. They don't have any of the original cast. So they have to market it on bullshit progressivism. The Rock Black Adam has the highest paid actor in Hollywood. So you can market on the back of that actor. They can market Wolverine on the back of Hugh Jackman almost.
It astounds me how that show, Rings of Power, can spend so much money and none of it on the cast. How?
Yeah.
Where did it go?
Rings of Power seems like some elaborate money laundering scheme because the sets don't look good, the costumes don't look good, the actors are nobodies, the script is trash.
Yep.
Brett was watching an episode upstairs as I was working, and obviously I can't tell him to turn it off because he's doing his job, but I wanted to the entire time. It was grating.
Everything you've heard from Rings of Power is against your will.
I don't know. I don't really like Lord of the Rings. I think it's kind of cringe. But I understand people that that like medieval stuff and enjoy the lore. So like power to them. But everything I saw was super over the top, overacting. It's like, oh, I'm a Happy Doobty from Dappy Doobty Da, and they were just so intense with it.
And the dialogue is intensely try hard poetic.
That's what I meant.
It's like failing really, really hard at imitating Tolkien's prose.
Yeah, it's a different era.
You didn't even need to make something derivative of an excellent author in the first place because you're set up for failure that way.
It sounded like it wasn't written by people that like the source material.
Yep.
Yeah, and even if you like the source material, you can't also hate the author at the same time, because you're indicting the values of the author that essentially made his writing of that series possible.
Yeah.
Why would you even want to work on a project that you don't like? It's so. I mean, I get people that do it for the money, but it's like freaking hey, dude.
Think about what The Rock says here about how Dr. Fate was one of his favorite too. Remember what you were talking about that one time when we were talking about you just want these people to feel like they like the material, like with video game adaptation. We talked about that's what it feels like, that The Rock actually cares about the stuff in the movie. Does he? Did he read every Black Adam comic? No, I doubt that he did. But he's doing his job, and part of his job is to market this movie. It's like they forgot the first base principle of that. So
he's such a brand. It's hard for me to believe that.
I'm picturing The Rock like laying on his stomach, kicking his feet in the air.
With his double-breasted suit open,
with his head resting on his hand, and he's just tweeting to the fans like, "I love you."
I love it.
It's just I can't.
Let's go.
I can't receive that pandering well. It seems disingenuous. Maybe it's not, but it's not really my job to care. Yep. Just make a good movie, and it wasn't good in my opinion. Sorry.
We all agree to disagree on that one because Brett liked it. But that is somebody said I saw actually a really great tweet. It said it was a movie as if Zack Snyder and Michael Bay had a baby, and I was like, let's freaking go.
I should watch.
Let's go.
If they had a baby, it would be you, Brett.
Yes, just tons of slow motion and explosions. Let's go.
I couldn't deal with the slow mo shots, like the high res slow mo shots of each character in the ensemble. It was just like of the Justice Society.
Yeah. And I'm over here just like,
is my heart supposed to be racing right now? Like, is this a really exciting moment?
What do you guys think is going to happen to the Wakanda movie?
It's going to do well.
No, I don't think so. I think that's...
I mean, the first Black Panther did amazingly.
But that movie was really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think it's one of the best Marvel movies.
It's better. It was probably better than Black Adam.
I thought the actor was cool too.
Worse.
Rest in peace. I forgot your name.
Chadwick Boseman.
I thought he was great.
Yep.
But I can't imagine watching that movie without him.
Yep.
You know, if they weren't so shamelessly money hungry, which in a way is okay, but if they weren't, then they wouldn't have even made a sequel after Chadwick died.
They shouldn't have.
Yep.
Like that's a mistake.
They're gonna make it like a Yes Queen movie. Like Christ.
Dude. Essentially, yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.